here, there seats if you want to come down. There's some empty single seats here and here and over there. If your bag's in a seat, you may have to move it. You can either stand in the back or sit, but you cannot complain. Okay, but there's some other seats down here if you guys want them. You guys good? If you're wearing headphones and I can see them, I would like them off, please. All right, because you want to make sure you're hearing all of this out of respect, right, to our visitors. All right, so please take those off for me. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so without any further, because I know none of you want to hear me. You hear me enough during the day. Dan Slepian, I was trying to get in this and Aaron. All right, so they're going to speak to you. If you saw the video, you obviously recognize Aaron. And Dan was the producer for that show and is going to talk to you about all of that. All right, so without any more from me, I'm going to turn it over.
Good morning. How are you all doing? Thank you. Thank you. Some of you are on your phone.
Oh, please don't be on your phone. Put those away for me. Thank you.
The reason that I'm saying this, because I know what you're thinking. Here comes in a guy that's going to chat about some crap. You're waiting for the bell to ring. You're going to go out. You're going to do your thing. What I hope is that by the time we leave this room, you will believe that this is a changing moment of your life. Because we're not here to speak at you. We are here to tell you about people that society has forgotten, that society has ignored. We have a crisis on our hands. It's an epidemic. And guess what? There's only one group of people that can solve it. You. I believe, from my experience over 30 years, I have walked through the most dangerous prisons in the country. I've met thousands of incarcerated people. And I'm here to tell you we have a crisis on our hands. I believe that in 200 years from now, I hope it's less, that future generations are going to look back at this time we live in when it comes to mass incarceration and see it the way we see slavery. I'm going to say that again. A couple of hundred years from now, I believe that people are going to look back at the time that we live in and how we treat people in prison the way we perceive slavery. It took a long time for that to end, slavery. It had to exist to end, right? Mass incarceration needs to end. It is a moral stain on America. And the problem is that the pendulum is swinging even back further the other way. We are going backwards again. We had some progress, but now we're going backwards. So the problem is getting worse, it's not getting better. You are going to have to start this process. This is the next incarnation of the civil rights movement. You might not even be able to solve it, but maybe your kids can. But what you need to do is you need to start being aware. Now I'm sure many of you are already aware. If maybe you know somebody who's in prison or visited a prison, or if you know somebody in your family who is addicted to drugs and has substance abuse disorder, or you've had a tough go at it, or maybe a friend or you or someone was invited or is in a gang. The United States prison system is full of really, really, really good people. There's this perception of us versus them. There's us out here, then there's them on the inside. Those are bad ones, right? Well, the truth is that I can tell you this from proximity, from hundreds and hundreds of visits to prisons, that my experience is that the vast majority of people in prison are really good people who made really bad choices when they were your age. Some of those people in prison never made bad choices and were in prison. He's one of them. He did make some bad choices, but not for why he was in prison. It was 13 years ago that I went to Sing Sing prison to film a story about a guy named J.J. Velasquez, who's another guy I did a story about, who was innocent. And he says to me, you need to go see Eric, listen, he's innocent. So I went to A Block in Sing Sing. Now A Block is the largest cell block in America. It's 2 football fields long, 4 tiers high, stacked cell after cell after cell. I love my dogs very much. As I was walking through those cell blocks, I remember thinking to myself, I literally would not put my dogs in one of those cells for even a night. Place where he lived for 18 years. I walked down A Block. Officer said, listen, on your feet. Yes, officer. That's what I hear. Walk, walk, walk. That football field. And there's Eric holding the bars of the cell. I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. And nobody is listening to me. I'm not here to speak at you, at you. I'm here to tell you the danger of not listening. That's why I told you to put your cell phones away. Because when you listen, you learn and understand. And then when you understand, you can't turn away. I had no choice but to not turn away from Eric because he was screaming into the wind in a hurricane. This is the story, Eric's story, is the power of resilience, is the power of hope, and the proof that every single one of you can change the world. Hopefully not the way Eric had to do it. He went away at 19 years old. He was arrested at 19 years old. Pretty close to where you are now. For a crime he did not commit. He had a 6th grade education. He dropped out of school in 6th grade. He went to prison, a scary place, and he had to make his way. And he got out of prison with a college degree, as you saw on the show, from Mercy College. And now he is going around the country with me, speaking to groups like you, and he's changing the world. The question that I want to leave you with by the time we're done later is for you to think for yourselves, for each one of you, what are you going to do? I'm not only talking about people in prison. That's my thing. I'm not saying it can't be your thing too. I'm just saying it's something that chose me. I didn't look for it. We can talk about that later, why it chose me. But we are only on this earth for one reason. There's no other reason that we're here. It's to serve each other. Me helping Eric is the same thing as one of you standing up for someone who's being bullied. Right? We're here for each other. It's the only reason we're here. I want to give you an example. I want to just give you a sense of how many people are in prison that are innocent, like Eric, and then you'll hear from Eric. And when I say crisis, I'm talking about an epidemic. First of all, I think that there is a crisis and an epidemic of mass incarceration. It was through my work on the innocence cases that led me to understand the pathology, the irrationality of how we treat human beings, whether they're guilty or innocent. Period. Nobody should be treated inhumanely. It only creates more crime. But when we talk about innocent people, people who just didn't do anything, the most conservative estimates suggest that the system gets it right. I don't even really know what right means, by the way, because there's all sorts of shades of gray when right is. But let's just say we define that as the person who is in a prison cell is actually guilty of the crime for which they were convicted. Let's say that's the definition. 95% for any bureaucracy is a big number of getting it right. But we're not selling McDonald's hamburgers here, we're talking about people's lives. The United States represents about 5% of the entire world's population. We incarcerate more than 20% of the world's prisoners. There's roughly 2 million people in prison in this country right now. For the mathematicians here, if there's 2 million people in prison right now, and roughly 5% are innocent, what's that number? Anybody? You'll do it. Figure it out. The answer is about 100,000 people. Let me say that again. 100,000 people could be sitting in a cell right now, looking at a cement ceiling stolen from their lives, families, and communities for something they never did. 100,000, I think it's more. In 40 years, 3,500 people have been exonerated. In 40 years. Eric Lisson was one of them. He was one of the lucky ones that lightning struck his jailhouse door to get him another day in court that got him out. So when we talk about the depths of this problem, he's one of the lucky ones. And the question is how do we raise awareness? How do we light lanterns of knowledge? Each one of you. What is each one of you going to do? To either help this issue or serve someone else to make the world a better place, because we need it more than ever. Eric, why don't you talk about your show?
Hello everyone. I want to thank y'all for watching the show. First of all, I want to say when Dan told me that he wanted me to come to Mount Vernon, I was excited. Because a lot of famous people I know come from here. So I know y'all kids got a lot of potential. But those famous people had to take their own journey just as well as you. And that journey is a lonely journey. Because you're by yourself in this world. Right now you have your parents. They support you, buy you new sneakers and everything. But in a year or two, you'll be off on your own. And that's what we want to prepare you for. We want to prepare you for being able to rely on yourself. And Dan talks about luck. I don't think it's about luck. I think it's about the individual, when they dig deep into themselves, what they find. Do they find weaknesses? Do they find strength? But everything comes from in you. And that's what I had to do. I had to fight. I didn't have lawyers. I didn't have TV people until I fought and got close to freedom that Dan came along and helped me. But it was all in me. It was all that, the nightmares that I lived every day. Seeing so much violence, the gangs and stuff. I don't like gangs because I think they're punks. And there's a lot of them in prison with 20, 30 people, and it takes 30 of them just to do something to one person. And that's not a man. So I avoided the gangs, and I stood strong because you die on your feet, not on your knees in life. And that's when you're going to find yourself when you're in the worst problem. That's when you're going to know who you really are. But I think y'all should take the time now to find like a quiet place, to dig deep into yourself, to find out who you really are, to confront your weaknesses, to invite more positivity into your life. Because there's only two energies in this world. And that's negative and positive. It's the same with God and the devil. But there's no one whispering in your ear to do bad. It's you. It's coming from in you, inside you, everyone. It's your thoughts. It's the reality you believe in your own head. But that doesn't relate to what reality really is. And reality in this world is not a good place at this time. And when Dan talks about 100,000 people, one is enough. What happened to me happened to 5 other people that were my co-defendants. And I didn't even know them. See, they didn't show you the other individuals. There were 5 other individuals that was arrested with me. I didn't know them. They separated us at trial. We didn't go to trial together. And they received 50 years to life, and I received 25 years to life because they were charged with an additional murder that they didn't know anything about, that took place the day before. So, this happened to them, it happened to me, it can happen to you. Simple, it can happen to anybody in this room. But, what we want to do is make sure that there's a preventable way from that happening in the future to anybody. And that's with you. Because you guys are going to grow up to be police officers, right? You're going to be lawyers. You're going to be citizens that work in average jobs, that you perform civil duties with the courts and you become jurors. And you'll be sitting on jury stands and assessing cases. But I want you to know for sure that not everybody sitting in that hot seat is guilty. And that's what the courts and the DAs want to portray upon the jury, that just because this person is there and he's being charged, he's guilty. And that's not the case, because everybody in this room has been accused of something they didn't do. And that's the truth. So, we're here because we want y'all guys, when you grow up and you get into your own lives and you see something wrong, stand up for it. Don't say it doesn't have anything to do with me. Because if Dan said that, I'll still be in prison, basically, because even though I found the 2 guys who did it from my cell, they didn't let me out. And when they did let me out, they made me wear ankle monitor. Even though the U.S. Attorney's Office was telling the Bronx District Attorney that we have the real killers, we have their confessions, they didn't believe them. So it takes a lot more than you think than just proving you're innocent. And it might be a bolt of lightning. But in my case, I thought it was perseverance. I thought that when I was at my lowest, that I didn't give up. That when I thought the world was ending and because I had a life sentence and I lost all of my recent appeals, that I had no appeal left and I thought I was going to die in there, I dug deep. I quieted myself and I dug deep and I reached for those strengths. Because you all got them in you. You just got to find it. You have to find yourself. You have to stop looking out at the world and look into you. That's more important. How you perceive yourself and how you portray yourself to this world really matters. Because in the forms of energy, you can feel negative and positive from everybody. You walk into a room, you feel negative energy from people. That's getting in touch with yourself. You have a sense. Explore it a little more. Cultivate it, grow it. Grow these senses, grow these virtues inside you, like empathy. Empathy is very important. I didn't know it before, I had to learn it. You have to train yourself to be compassionate. You have to see other wrongs and feel it also. And you guys are amazing. You're still in school. Still in school. I dropped out in 6th grade. I wanted to run the streets with my friends, hang out. And then all of a sudden I wound up in jail. But I think that was a turning point in my life because I was able to sit down, I was able to assess my life, my past, and I seen I didn't even have a GED. So what was I worth? But I knew I had to bring some type of value to my life. For me. Not for everybody else to see, but for me. Because that gives me pride, that boosts my ego. That gives me the determination and the tenacity to go out and to keep fighting. So I dug in myself. And I found what I needed. And that was strength to keep fighting. I never gave up, and that's why I'm able to be free with my family. Because the DAs would never let me out. They don't care. Lock them up and throw away the key. It's the same thing they would do to you. They don't care about you. Because economically, you don't mean much. If you come from these neighborhoods to them. But you got to prove them wrong at some point in life. And that starts today. With having a better outlook on yourself. With seeing a wrong and fixing it. Not backing down from it. And I want to leave you guys with something because it's really important to me. And I have a 31-year-old daughter. I have a 10-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old daughter. So, you know, they're the most important thing to me. As well as you. Because all of y'all are my daughters and my sons. If I see something wrong with you, I'm going to beat it. But what I tell them every day is that whatever you decide to do in life, do it with purpose. Do it with conviction. Make sure that you are on firm ground. Don't play around here and you want to lollygag in there. Because later on in life, you'll be full circle to where you started from. Yeah, you can get on a good path and make a mistake and be back where you started. So careful with your steps in life. Careful who you associate yourself with. Be careful what life has in store for you because it's unexpected. It could just come upon you, and if you ain't ready for it, it overwhelms you.
You know, the benefit of doing something for somebody else as well, you don't realize the consequences, the beneficial consequences. A lot of people have said to me, oh, I can't believe what you've done for these guys. I wrote a book, helped some other people, like it was selfish. It wasn't selfish, it's selfish. Eric is not only one of my best friends, this is my family. I'm the godfather to his 10-year-old.
He was there when
This is my family. You understand? I didn't expect that when I saw him holding those bars. We talk every day. I love him.
You're 20 minutes apart.
Right? His family knows my family. When Eric had his ankle bracelet on, even when he was innocent, they made him wear an ankle bracelet. He got out in October of 2012. He didn't know where to go. Thanksgiving, he came to my house. What a benefit to me. It's not me giving to him. He has given just as much to me. This guy, full of resilience, full of thought and power, because of his trials and tribulations, because of his trauma, he rose like a phoenix from the ashes. Do you know there's no air conditioning in prison? Do you know there's no real heating in those cells? Do you know when it's freezing, when it's hot, when it's 100 degrees outside, it feels like 115 in those cement walls when he's locked down? And what did you have to do to cool off?
Put my feet in the toilet.
He would lie on the cement floor and put his feet in the toilet. This spring, Sing Sing is going to be 200 years old. The pipes that carry the water. Some of them are the same. In every cell that you can touch both walls with your hands, there's a steel toilet, this tiny little sink with one button, with one spigot, with cold water. What color is that water?
Brown.
What did you have to do?
Strain it with my sock.
This is how he had to live. And look at him. So when you all think you have problems, and you do, I don't want to put anyone's trauma ahead of anybody else's. Everybody has their issues. But the question is exactly, the issue is exactly what Eric's message is for whatever it is for you, it's thinking deep and knowing that people will have your back and know that we see you. A lot of times people don't feel seen. Dad might not be home, mom might be gone. You're on your own, right? Our friend Dario Pena, brilliant. He works at Columbia University as a coder now. He was guilty. He spent 25 years in prison for murder. He killed 2 rival gang members. He was one of those bad guys, right? Spent hundreds of hours with him as well. And the way he explained it, for me, was a light bulb moment. He said, I was 18 years old. My mom wasn't home. My dad was on drugs. I was trying to go to school dodging bullets. My older brother was in a gang. Started hanging out with them. He invited me, and now it became my family. And I thought it was family. And guess what? I was a soldier in a war. It was kill or be killed. And everybody knew the rules. And when he killed a couple rival gang members, he went away and he got 25 to life. And then when he turned 25 years old, he got more years in prison than he had been alive at that point. And then when he went to prison, he turned 25 after 75. And there's something that happens with humans, with your brains, it's called growth and maturity. You have a frontal lobe, we all have one, that makes critical thinking skills, makes you understand the consequences of your actions. That's not fully developed until you're 25 years old. Then Dario went to college because he's brilliant, and he got his degree. He got a master's degree. And he was ready to come home and serve. But then he had another 15 years to go. Right? So, it's really, really important for you to know at the age that you're at to do exactly what Eric is saying, is to dig deep, to find yourself, to serve others, and to pause before making any decisions and think. What we really want to do is have a dialogue with you guys. I know you saw Eric's story, and for the rest of the time, we want to talk about what you want to talk about. So I don't want anyone to be ashamed. I know you all want to talk to Eric, which is great. Don't be ashamed. Just raise your hands or just shout out a question or anything. Go ahead.
While you were in prison, did you ever try to explain your innocence to anyone else inside of the prison? Like, did you have any?
I wrote thousands of letters, and they all fell on deaf ears. And I told just about everybody I knew in there that I wasn't guilty. I wasn't ashamed of it, because a lot of people go in there. I know guys that are actually innocent who are home now that were my friends in there, who used to brag and boast that they did it just to fit in. And that's not cool. Being somebody you're not really are is not cool. That's not being true to yourself. Because at some point you gotta look in the mirror. And who else gonna be looking back at you? Is it a fake person? A liar? Is it a cheater? Who's looking back at you in that mirror? That's what you need to find out. Other questions?
You have to go back in time and they convict you again. but you have the knowledge of what you already went through, what will you do differently?
Wow.
My first thing I'll do is I'll go straight to the law library. Well, I learned a lot of the law there. I studied a lot of the law. Mainly all of the books there I read. 17 years. So I think right now I have more resources and more knowledge to reach more people. And I think I wouldn't go through the same thing I went through last time with being a layman of the law, not understanding the procedures, and having these court-appointed attorneys that just push you through the system with the disguise as the attorneys, because that's what happens. You know, if you call and you're arrested, especially for a capital crime like murder, they're going to give you a court-appointed attorney, and he works for the court, and his salary is paid by the court. So they're not going to have a vested interest in you trying to keep you out of prison or avoid a conviction. So I think if I had to do that again, which is a terrible idea, I'm not sure. I just know that I know the law a little bit better now, and I know my rights. And I think that a lot of you get arrested today, you won't know your rights, and somehow you fall short in getting any relief in the court.
You mentioned that you needed to look inward to find yourself. In
Sorry?
great detail. You mentioned that you looked inward to find yourself. Can you explain what the process was when you found yourself?
Well, I had to quiet myself first. Well, I did a lot of time in solitary. A couple of years, you know. But you have to survive in there. And it took that point for me to really reflect, sitting down in the cell for 23 hours a day. You only get 1 hour recreation in a cage behind your cell. You know, they have a door that opens up automatically when the officer presses the button. And you go out into the rec area and you spend 1 hour to the exact 60 minutes. And you're back in your cell. So I had a lot of time to sit there and reflect on my life. And I seen it was basically empty. And I didn't have anything to resort to inside of me that would give me a firm holding on strength. Because in my mind, I was weakened. I've been beat by the district attorney. I've been convicted to 25 years to life. And I didn't know what to do at that point. I cried. I prayed. I reached out to everybody. But I realized I was all alone in this world. And if I didn't take the initiative to stand up and be strong and to dig deep in myself for my strength, I'd still probably be in prison. So when you dig deep into yourself, you have to first quiet yourself. You have to start reflecting on who you are, your life. You know, think about as growing up, things you wanted to do but you didn't. That would have led a different path in your life. So at that point, I didn't know the law. I didn't know anything. All I know is that I was convicted and I had 25 years to life. So when I got out of the box, after I really did an internal search of myself, I had a little bit more positive feedback to give to myself. And that was, don't give up, you can do it.
That's the key. That is the key for you. Like, you're here listening to a story that's, wow, this guy spent all this time in prison for something he didn't do. What does it mean to you? Each one of you has so much more power than you realize. And you don't realize it because you're not old enough to realize it. But in a few years from now, in a few short years from now, not only are you going to be full-fledged adults, but a few years after that, you're going to be running the world. It's your generation that's taking over. And the idea of never giving up is the message for whatever, look around, not this room, look around the world, look around the country, look at what's happening. Politics aside, look at what's happening. Wars. I called the doctor the other day where I live up in northern Westchester to get an appointment. I was on hold for 40 minutes before I could get in touch with anybody. Why? This has nothing to do with wrongful convictions, but it has to do with our society. It has to do with how we're serving each other, right? So instead of being a bystander and watching life or watching somebody speak, how are you going to get yourself on the stage? Are you curing cancer? Are you going to hopefully solve the phone problem up at Optum? What are you going to do for somebody else, for our society? You have all of the power over yourself, but way more power collectively on society than you will ever know. And the time for you to start is right now. That's the time to start. Thinking inside that you may have had a hard time. You may have had a hard road. Somebody may have told you you're not good enough. Someone may have told you you're not smart enough, or you can never do it. Tune them out. You know yourself. Fight for yourself. Like he did. He got himself out of prison. Fight for yourself for whatever you want to do, because you will be seen. We see you. You have power. Use it. Who else has a question? Yeah.
How did you being wrongfully convicted affect your views on the justice system?
Well, right now,
Yeah.
my view on the justice system is a little bit more brighter because I've seen all of the major reforms that's been taking place, and that a lot of people who would have never been released have been released now. And the fact that even if you are convicted and you are released on parole, you still have the right to vote. And that's what matters. You have the power in voting. And so I'm considering starting a voting block for everyone who's on parole, which is currently there's over 25,000 people on parole in New York. But they still have that voting right. And I think I need to tap into that because I think we can put up our own candidates to run for office. We can change a lot in politics. So
I don't have such a bright outlook as he does. His outlook is brighter than mine on the justice system. I feel like the pendulum is swinging backwards in the climate we're in right now. I'm just going to tell you a very quick story of our friend that's happening right now. Right now. There's a guy named Andre Brown who is our friend. In 1999, he was arrested for attempted murder. No one ever died. He's innocent. A stranger eyewitness picked him out. His legal team believes they know who did it. He's a great guy. Had never been arrested for a felony before. 0 convictions on his record. He was convicted. The judge, who didn't like his lawyer, sentenced him to 2 20-year terms to be served consecutively. Usually they're concurrent, right? So if you have 2 20-year terms served concurrently, that means you're serving both 20 years at the same time, and when 20 years hits, you're out. His was consecutive, which means the judge gave him 40 years. No one even died. And he's provably innocent today. He served 23 years in prison. 2 years ago, his conviction was overturned by a judge for something called ineffective assistance of counsel. That his lawyer was so bad, he should never have been convicted. And Andre came home to his beautiful wife, to his son, who's an A+ student and basketball star, and his stepdaughter. He got a job in New Rochelle, working for a judge, mentoring at-risk youth. about the power of second chances. He's a pillar in his community. On Christmas Eve, 3 months ago, Christmas Eve, he heard from the appellate court. They overturned the judge's decision to vacate his conviction. And they ordered him to turn himself back in for 18 more years. This is a true story. So we did a story about it. Eric and I visited Andre at his house right when he found out. We went 2 days after Christmas. I filmed a little bit of Andre, made a little video. There's a team that got together of lawyers and people. And he was supposed to turn himself January 6th, of all days. He got a stay while they appealed. And that decision just came back recently, and that appeal was denied. So a final decision is going to be made on April 15th. On April 15th, Andre Brown, depending on what a judge decides, might have to get into a car at his home in Connecticut, say goodbye to his 14-year-old, 8+ student son, his wife, who he goes to church with every Sunday, and his daughter, and drive himself back to prison for 18 more years. Now, I maintain, even if he's guilty, forget about his innocence or guilt, even if he's guilty, he proved that the purpose of the Department of Corrections worked. He did 23 years, he came out, he's a pillar of the community. What public interest? How is it in our best interest in terms of, forget the $2 million taxpayers are going to spend on him over the next 18 years. But what public interest does it serve to us by sending him back? It doesn't. Not only does it not serve a public interest, it creates public danger. Why? Because his son is going to get angry and his grades are going to drop. And he's going to go off the rails and he might hurt somebody. And all of those kids that he was mentoring, those at-risk youth that the judge hired him to, what are they going to think? When this is the guy saying to them, second chances are real. I'm proof of it. And now I have to drive myself back to prison for 18 years. What are those kids going to think? So when you ask about the justice system, that's your justice system. That's the justice system we live in.
That's the one we want you to change.
That's the one you have to change. It is your responsibility to do it. You have to. Because if you don't, guess what's going to happen? Nothing. And more people are going to get put away and communities are going to get torn apart.
Dan, I'm sorry, I just want to say, because these guys have been saying, what are you guys going to do? Here's an opportunity, right? Andre Brown, the decision's coming down April 15th. Between now and then, you all can write a letter to the governor, right, and tell her to issue clemency for him, right? Step in and right this wrong. This is something that you can get involved in. Right? You just type in Andre Brown, wrongful conviction, whatever. You will find the stories. You will find, opportunities to sign petitions. His legal team needs your help. They really do. And so that's just something you can do.
I'm just FaceTiming and seeing if the lamps are so you can see.
Other questions? I know there was a lady here.
Oh, here he is. Yeah, listen.
Oh, wait.
Listen. I'm in front of, well, let me show you where I'm standing. So there's Andre. Can you see him? You see Andre? I have a privacy screen. see him, everybody? You can see what he looks like? Andre, we just told everybody your story. Can you, I don't know if they can hear you. Can you talk loud?
All right.
No, yeah, you're talking. You gotta shout.
There you go.
I was telling them that your story and that we're fighting to keep you home, but someone asked about the justice system, and that's why we told your story. So I wanted everyone to see what you look at. They were encouraging them to work for the governor's office. Okay. See you later. See you later. I'll play you later. That's Andre Brown. He's at home with his family right now.
Stressed.
In 2 weeks, he might have to get into a car and drive himself back to a maximum security prison for 18 years. Why? Sorry, that's a long answer.
There is a young lady right here. You have a question.
Oh, yeah. My question was because on the film, towards the end, you had opened up like a bakery or what seems to be like
A juice bar.
Oh, a juice bar.
Yeah, I built it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, the question was how you were able to like maintain like such hope and positivity and like hold no grudges after like all those years spent in prison.
Well, a lot of people ask me why I'm not upset. And a lot of my friends who are exonerees also is pissed off at the world. And I tell them why. What benefit are you going to be doing? Because that's all animosity building up. And it's toxic. Very, very toxic. You may not feel it, but the people around you can feel it because the nature of the things you're going to be doing and saying. You're going to be always saying F him and this and that. And it's never going to help you. Being upset and carrying all of that anger and animosity will never help you. When I was exonerated, I knew at that point I had to leave everything behind. I had to start my life over. I can't bring that misery and everything with me because it's not beneficial.
You know what? Eric is really special. He's not, you know, he had to leave it behind. He never had misery. He was like this even when he was locked up. And I've always said to him, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop because he's just the most loving, funny. I love him. And so my daughter, when I met Eric, my daughter who's in college, she was like 5 or something when I met her. And, you know, as she grew up, she would be like, Dad, you know, he didn't call me back, right? Eric helped me raise her. I said, what does Eric Glisson say?
Every problem has an expiration date.
Every problem has an expiration. Think about that.
If y'all could just learn, you know, we all have problems. I'm not saying I don't have problems. I got 3 small daughters that control me. Right? They make me do things. Jump them in the air, that's kind of scary, but if you can learn to compartmentalize your problems, right? Not let them overwhelm you, because more problems come along and then you got nothing but overwhelmers. If you can compartmentalize your problems and deal with them when you can, I think it'll make your life a little bit better. Because you don't have to be thinking about that problem all the time. You can put it to the side, you know that, right? And deal with it when you can.
This is part of the brain development that I was talking about. You're too young to really fully get this, because I know when you have issues or issues of the heart at your age, all sorts of stuff, that it feels so deep, and it's the end of the world, and you did, right? But the reality is, every problem really does have an expiration date. Whatever you're going through, it will end at some point somehow. It did for him. It took 18 years, but it did. So that's what you should think about. Who else has it? Well, yeah.
Do you think prison shaped you into becoming the man you are today?
Wow, that's a good question.
Well, I met some of the most autistic men in there. Not everybody in there is a bad guy. They just made a mistake. And they're paying their time and debt to society for it. But the group of men I met in there, right, we were all going through our own problems, and I think that really built the strength inside of me, because as I'm going through my problems, I'm seeing other people go through their problems. And we all share something in common. Our freedom has been taken away from us. And dealing in there, in prison, in a prison environment, you have to be always correct. You have to be always right. You can't slag, you can't be faking the funk. Like, you know, but in there, it teaches, well, you grow up in there. And I grew up teaching myself, because I read a lot of books. And even if the library didn't have the book that I wanted, I did an interlibrary exchange with Albany. I found a way to better myself, because at some point, you gotta realize that you don't want to bring the same man home to your family that they already know, that left them. They already know you. Oh boy, you haven't changed. And that's what's so unique about us, human beings, is that we have the opportunity every day to change our lives, to become better, to be a better beacon into this world, where people look up to you. That's what you're striving for your children to respect you, for your co-workers, for your family to respect you, to be an upstanding pillar in the community. That's what we all are striving for. And I think y'all can get there.
You all can get there. And the question is for each one of you to think about yourselves. Who are you? You emanate energy. Positive and negative. Eric said, I already know in this room who's disinterested. I know who's not paying attention. I know who's trying to get through it. I know who's riveted. I know who cares and who doesn't. Right? Each of you emits energy. Who do you want people to believe you are? When someone says, who is that guy? What's he like? What are they going to say? You're being watched all the time. Everything you say defines you. Every look you give lets people know who you are. What are you creating for yourself? Nobody, your parents can't do it for you. You're on your own. It's only up to you. It's just you. What are you creating? Who are you creating? That when someone says, yo, what's Steph like? What's Eric like? You know what the answer is. There's a saying that I love, and I'm going to screw it up, so I'll forget about the saying. But the idea is that it doesn't matter who lies about you, because you've already shown who you are. If you just live by a set of your own principles, no one is going to accuse you of not caring about this talk. You have been with us the entire time, right? I don't know you. I don't know your name. I just see you sitting there. But that's who you are to me, right? Who are you? Who are you creating? What are you giving people to say about you? And what are you doing for other people to make this world a better place? We need it. I keep saying it over and over. We need it now more than ever. Wherever your political persuasion hits, it doesn't matter. We all agree that personal responsibility is the new thing, because no one is looking out for you. So you need to look out for yourself, find yourself, and become that person you want to be and that you want others to say who you are.
Hold on, I want to say something about him. When he asked me about prison, how did it change me? It gave me a more understanding of education and how important it was. And that me dropping out of school in 6th grade and going to college and finishing in there, Well, I got out, and 2 days later, I was back in school on the campus with the same professors that came in to teach at night in the school building in the prison. But I learned that education is something that no one can ever take from you. No one can rob you, put a gun to your head and take it. You've taken that to your grave. So the more you educate yourself, the better you're going to be and the better you're going to see the world. And the more knowledge and understanding you're going to have. And that gives self-worth. When you educate yourself, you invite the self-worth into yourself.
And when he says educate, I wanted to say something about that too, is that doesn't only mean reading books. Eric gave me an education more than any university could, right? Through proximity. The education for me is, questioning my own belief system, right? Here's a guy in prison who says he's innocent. I grew up thinking the system worked just the way it should. Really? He's innocent? I had to question my own belief system. And for example, you've heard it before. Oh, he says he's innocent. You've heard this saying, right? Everybody in prison says they're innocent. How many people have heard that? Yeah? Okay. You walk through any prison in this country, I'm here to tell you because I've done it, more than 90%, 95% of the people in prison that I have met have all admitted the crime for which they were convicted. They do not say they're innocent. Now, some people say they're innocent and they're lying, sure. Some people say they're guilty, but they minimize their involvement, sure. But that trope, that idea, that sounds intuitive, that sounds like it makes sense. Oh, everybody says they're in prison. It just writes off a whole segment of the population. It's just not true. So another way of educating yourself is questioning your own belief system. Doesn't mean just pick up an book and read it. A lot of people don't do that anymore.
It's about empirical observations
Yeah.
as well. Just looking and observing can educate you. Like when I got out, I rode the train a lot because I needed to reacclimate. And I didn't know how to do it. But through empirical observations and seeing people and looking at their character, the new culture out here, because it was strange. I left at one period and came back in another, where people were just talking to themselves with headphones on.
He used to call me and say, I think there's a lot of mentally ill people out here.
Yeah.
I said, why? Everyone's talking to themselves, like the earbuds.
But what I really, really learned was that there was no more sense of community, like from what I witnessed when I was growing up. Everybody's an individual today, right? They're on their phone, they don't care, they're just into their own life. But we need to bring back a sense of community. Everybody needs to come together collectively and do something positive for the neighborhood, for the school, for yourselves.
Anybody else?
That's important.
Yes. Did your defense team try and make you plead?
Yeah, they asked me to plead guilty to get less time, but as I said, you die on your feet, not on your knees.
There's something about that you should know about pleading guilty. These are my words, so obviously they're my words, but in my opinion, it's somewhat of a scam. It's a really unfair part of the system. So if Eric is arrested and there's not so much evidence against him, and a prosecutor has the power to say, plead guilty and you'll get 5 years. And Eric says, I'm not pleading guilty, I didn't do anything. You really want to gamble? I'm giving you 5 years. I didn't do anything, I'm going to trial, it's my constitutional right. And he gets guilty, then he gets 25 to life. How does that make sense? There's no sort of algorithm as to, it's just kind of willy-nilly and not about public safety. So, and by the way, just so you know, more than 90% of all cases in this country end in a plea deal. Most cases do not go to trial.
People are scared to go to trial because of more time. So even if they're guilty, they'll be...
If everyone charged with a crime in America invoked their constitutional right to a speedy trial, there would be no courts. It would clog the court system. They would be years and years and years before you do a trial. Like, literally, that's a real number. More than 90% of cases end without a jury or a trial in a plea deal. Well said.
In the documentary, the woman that you called grandma, how did your interaction with her, like, how did she help you keep going?
Well, I was part of a group called RTA, Rehabilitation Through the Arts. And we did plays. Like, there was volunteers that came from Broadway theaters, different backgrounds of acting, would come into the prison and give us classes like the Miser technique, teach us about acting and stage. And we would all come together and we would decide on a play we would like to do. Like Oedipus Rex, Jitney. We've done West Side Story, Macbeth. I did a lot of plays with RTA, and they gave me a lot of tools that helped me deal with society, because, you know, in theater it's social. You have to be able to socialize and deal with different personalities, and everybody thinks they're better than the other. So, you know, you learn to confront those issues and get along with it. But RTA was something that gave me more strength. It gave me confidence in myself. That I can go on the stage and speak in front of the whole entire audience and not have a fear. But I confronted that fear by taking newspapers and magazines with the front page and putting the face on my wall and just talking to them, like just going back and forth and keeping the eye contact. And that gave me a little bit more confidence to get on that stage. But RTA is really good, and they just had a play called Sing Sing.
A movie. You know, has anybody heard of the movie called Sing Sing? There's a movie out now called Sing Sing. It was nominated for, Coleman Domingo was nominated for Best Actor at the Academy Awards.
And Dario's in there.
Dario's in it, but the supporting actor, his name is Clarence Macklin, really was at Sing Sing, graduated from Mount Vernon High School. Yeah. By the way, I also want to, what's that?
It's streaming now.
It's streaming now. Eric, a lot of people have this question, and you know, I want to make.
I still talk to Grandma today.
Oh.
I just was there like 2 weeks ago, building a planter for her because I had some wood and stuff sent, and she was complaining she wanted to start her flowers for the spring, and she's right in Austin. And
Complaining?
She was complaining to me that she wants to start her flowers early for the spring. So you know me, I rushed down. I ordered the materials, had it delivered, and I rushed down and I put it together for her.
Service, right? So this is what I was going to say, and a lot of people have this question when
So
we
I'm still in
talk.
contact with her.
Money means, I know money,
Yeah.
everyone talks about money. Okay, so yeah, we all need money to live, right? But money is not the answer to happiness at all. If you all had tons, millions of dollars, you think you'd be much happier, and you might be in the short term, but that doesn't make you happy inside. Yes, Eric got a settlement. He has a water company that he bought because he couldn't drink fresh water in prison. So he bought a water company in the Dominican Republic, and we're trying to figure out how to get it inside prison.
Well, we have to prove it to her.
But my point in saying this is, the message I'm giving to you is, what are you going to do for other people? Eric literally owns a beach in the Dominican Republic. He could be sitting on that beach right now. It's cold out. He could go right now and be sitting on that beach, but he's not. He wants to be here speaking to you. And that's what he does, right? And that's what all of you could do too.
It's important for me to come to people. I don't have to be.
Yeah.
I have fast cars. I have everything I need. Like
Fast cars.
houses. I have everything I need. My family is fine, and my children and their children will be fine also. But what's really important for me is not I have, but getting that message to you guys, because later on, what if one of you are sitting on a jury and you remember this message that we gave you? Or one of you are a police officer or a prosecutor, And y'all remember this message we gave you. And you did the right thing for that individual. And you didn't violate their rights because you have compassion and empathy. From listening to my story, seeing what I went through. And that's why I'm here. And that's what's important.
When you go out to dinner with tonight or tomorrow or at dinner, whatever, and somebody says, tell us about this guy, Eric, listen, you'd be like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. He was with some tall, dorky white guy, and this guy is great. You know Eric, right? You know his character. You know who he is. Nobody created that. He created that. And that's what you could create for each one of yourselves. You could all be that person in your own way.
How long did it take for you to build like back up after you
Still building.
like,
Was it easy? No. Like, conditions today, as opposed to back then, are a little bit more different because you have a lot of youth who don't have respect like they used to. Like we were growing up. Because you don't get your butt whipped as much as we do.
Let's not go there.
Well, I got a lot of them. But I think that the way our youth are going today is that they're blazing their own path. And which is the right thing to do because they can't follow the same paths we took. They have to take their own paths in life. But make sure that that path is leading to a goal that you set in life. You have to start setting goals and obtaining them, reaching for them. And don't ever let nobody tell you no. Because when I first got out, I wanted to do something that would be a milestone for me. So I built the juice bar by myself in like 30 days. And I opened it up on the anniversary of the day I was released. 1 year anniversary. But even my family told me I couldn't do it. They said I was crazy. They didn't know I had YouTube, that I had Google, that I can look up anything I need on there. Those tools are powerful. And so I built the store by myself. I got it open. I ran it. It was doing very good, but I had to outgrow it. And I started buying properties, commercial properties, residential properties, and even some of the officers, like 2 officers in Sing Sing, rent from me. They don't know because I don't tell them, but I should raise their head. But they're nice people, you know, and not every guard who's in prison is a wise guy or a-hole, but you do have people who come in there with their own problems.
Think about how remarkable this guy is. He went to prison when his daughter was 1 week old. He got out when she was 18. And look at him. The resilience. There's such power in this for all of us. I feed off of Eric all of the time. You could all be that person to be fed off. Who else has a question? Speak up real loud.
do you feel like that you had is going to build your legacy?
Because the crowd I was hanging around with, and that's what you guys need to start doing. When you're hanging around with your friends and you're in a circle, in the group, in the cypher or whatever, take a step back and listen to what they're talking about. Because if they're not talking about nothing positive, then you're on the wrong track. You're hanging with the wrong set of friends. You guys right now should be preparing for your next stage in life, which is becoming adults. And to be honest, it's not easy because bills come. You have to provide for your own self. Housing, transportation, food. And I'm sure you look at your parents and you see them struggling, right? Yeah, you see them struggling. And that should be an indication that you should do better than them. Because everybody's parent here is the only one in the world that wants you to do better than them. That want to see you doing better than them. So respect your parents. Look at their struggles. And try to just be a better child.
We have time for two more questions. Two more questions. We haven't gotten to the back.
The guy right here.
Right here, okay.
Do you think your way of life would change if you didn't spend the
Do you think your way of life would change, huh?
like as you are today, I think
Well, I know who's going to become in life is who you work with today. If you don't plant anything in the soil today, you're not going to get anything tomorrow. So when you start planting self-doubt that you can't do it, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get anything. But when you internalize that, yeah, I can do it, and it's possible, because I tell my daughters, and on their door, I write in big letters, it says, girls can do anything. Because they always say, Dad, I can't. And I say, get that word out of your vocabulary. It's never going to help you. And I tell them, jealousy, it's never helped nobody. Jealousy never helped anyone. Prove it. It gets you upset inside. It creates a toxic environment in your body. And you know, negativity, you see people who are always negative, they get sick faster. They're always in some turmoil in their life. They always got problems. That's not what you want. And today you can work on that so you don't have to deal with it later.
Eric, pick the last question.
I'll take the 3. Come on.
In the film, it was said that there was no evidence against you to convict you, but there was a witness. And then it was also said that the detectives never actually went to go fact check the witnesses' claims and they were false. Did they face repercussions for that or no?
No. And that's the problem today. Because actually the district attorney came to court and he said that he was in possession of the people's evidence, which was bullets, some other things, items that he had, and they were in his personal automobile. And that he stopped off to conduct personal business with his wife, and the evidence, when they came back to the car, the evidence was stolen. Yeah, it's in the minutes.
You know, overall, about accountability, there really is no accountability, ever, for any of this. And
They never admit they wrong.
just to give you one very glaring example, okay? There's a former NYPD detective in Brooklyn by the name of Louis Scarcella. He's responsible already for beating confessions, coercing confessions out of more than 24 people. It's thought to be much higher than that. His victims who went away to prison for hundreds of years combined already have been compensated by us to $115 million. But former Detective Scarcella is not only not in jail, he still collects his NYPD pension. So when it comes to accountability, it's virtually non-existent, and there's various reasons for that, including something called qualified immunity. That shouldn't be the last question, because she asked 2. So,
How was your relationship with your family, and how did it work out when you came out of prison?
Well, with my daughter, there was a lot of resentment. Cynthia, because I wasn't around. So she grew up without me. But I did, as I tell everybody, you know, and there, to work in prison is like slave labor. Because I was making $6 every 2 weeks. And I took 3 of that to go to commissary to buy a couple of soups, a loaf of bread, a peanut butter, and a jelly so I could survive at night, because you get hungry and stuff. And the extra money I would save just to order a toy for my daughter's birthday out of the catalog. And she came to see me like maybe once or twice a year, because where they sent me and where they sent other people is like 11 hours away on the border of Canada. Clinton, Attica, those are different prisons that we were sent to. And it's difficult for your family, especially from the inner cities, to come up there on the bus. 9, 10 hours. You leave at nighttime at 11 and you get there 7 or 8 in the morning. The commute is difficult. So I didn't see my daughter as much, but I had phone conversations with her, and I did make her things. When she came on a visit, I made big planes. Then I took the motors out of the Walkmans for propellers, engines and things like that with a button and a light. I took my time to make those things for her because, you know, in my heart I'm still a father. Even though I'm in prison, I'm still a father. And regardless of if my access to her was limited, I still wanted to make a major point that I'm there. So when I did get out, a lot of my friends, my family, we lost contact. Some of them I haven't even spoke to in those 18 years. Did try to come back into my life, but you know, I have my own life to live now. They had their life out here, and that's what matters, that everyone has their own life and continue to live it.
I have enormous gratitude for all of you. You've all, 99.9% of you, were right with us. I know you care. I know you're going to change the world. I'm proud of you, and I want you to go out there and slay it and change somebody else's life. So thank you very much.
I'd like you to actually